coming to you from my cozy reading corner to give my January book review. I will talk about the 4 books that I read in January, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, what I would rate them, and then at the end, what I recommend out of the 4 books that I read for you to read or add to your reading list. I've recently got into reading again. I was not a big reader growing up. You know, every once in a while I would get sucked into the sagas like the Twilight Saga and Hunger Games and, you know, all of the classics from when we were in middle school. But I haven't really read a lot until this year, or actually last year in 2020 in quarantine. I was getting tired of watching Netflix every day for hours on end and going on long walks. I was like, I really need something other than that. So I started reading again, and it started with The Silent Patient. And if you need a kickstart to get you into reading again, pick up that book. Such an easy, fun read. The chapters are like 3 pages long, so you feel like you're, accomplishing the world when you're reading it. So I definitely recommend that book as a starter book. It got me started. I read like 33 books last year, starting in May. So I'm really ready to set this year off right. I want to read 40 books this year, and I started off the year reading 4 books this month in January. The first book I read this year was Rebecca, and I wanted to read this book mostly because of the Netflix movie that came out with Armie Hammer and Lily James. I know there's a lot of weird stuff in the news right now about Armie Hammer, but without that being said, I wanted to read Rebecca because of it, because I wanted to watch the movie, and I know this was a book that a lot of people had read before, and for some reason it was something that I never read. So Rebecca is a classic novel, fictional story with a little bit of like a twisted, dark background about a young girl who marries an older man in his second marriage, and she's kind of like haunted in a way, not like a ghost, but haunted by Rebecca, who is the first wife. This is a really interesting book. I think it was really slow at the beginning, and that's why I didn't give it, as high of stars. It's also a classic, so you know what you're getting into. The writing is, different than style of writing today, but it was still a good story. I still need to discuss it with some friends because, spoilers ahead. So fast forward probably a few seconds. I just really didn't understand the decision of the young girl, and I really didn't feel the connection between her and her partner. So I don't know, it was good, but not my favorite. But I really don't feel like I love a lot of classic books anyways. The book I just finished reading was The Midnight Library. This book is really hard to find right now. It's super popular. I couldn't even find it when I went to Barnes & Noble, and my friend had it, and she just finished reading it, so I'm borrowing it from her. I liked this book a lot. I thought it was an interesting, fun, fun in a way, fictional read. This story follows a girl who's kind of in between life and death, and she goes to a library to pick out different lives that she could be living in parallel universes. I thought it was an interesting story. I kind of guessed the end probably 50 pages in, but it was definitely still fun throughout the whole thing, going through her different, lives that she could have lived. And so I did really like this one. I did give it 5 stars, although I'm really bad at my ranking because I don't really have a good scale for it. I gave it 5 stars because it was an interesting read. I thought the story had, a good message, and it was fun. Quick, easy, didn't put it down, finished it in a few days. So those are the 2 books I've just finished reading, the first 2 books of 2021. And I definitely recommend reading The Midnight Library if you haven't already, although it's really hard to find, so good luck. The third book I read this year is The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach. This book is definitely a longer one. It's about 510 pages long, and it follows 5 different characters in college, and it's their stories. It definitely surrounds baseball. Baseball is a big theme in the book, in case you couldn't tell from the title, The Art of Fielding. And I feel like I should have liked this book more than I actually did. there's stories, there's 5 characters, you can, learn something about each of them and the struggles that they were going through, but it kind of just like made me feel anxious and let down by some of the things that were going on throughout the story, and I just felt like I had to push through to read this book. And I don't really know why, because I think there was good things about it. There were unique characters. And so I feel like a lot of people might actually like this book, and it was just me, and I didn't enjoy it that much. I think I gave it out of 3 out of 5 on my Goodreads. So I don't know what to say more about this other than I feel like I should have liked it more. In this book, the 5 characters, there's the main character who is really good at baseball and potentially wants to go pro. You have his roommate who has some challenges that he goes through in this book. And then you have the president of the school and his daughter are 2 other characters. And then the mentor to the baseball player is also a student, but in a year above. And he's also a main character in this book. So there's 5 big characters that this follows. Maybe it's because I don't love baseball that much that I didn't like it as much as I felt like I should. But it does have good reviews on Goodreads. So if you're into baseball, if you like multi-character books, if you need a longer read, this is your book. The book I just finished in my 4th book of January is The Authenticity Project by Clare Pooley. And this book is definitely, popular right now. Lots of people are reading it. I thought this was a really fun read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's also multiple characters in this book. I can easily see this book becoming a movie. This is like classic rom-com story. So expect this to be a movie sometime soon. Maybe Netflix will pick it up. But in this book, there is the Authenticity Project, which gets passed around, and it's a little notebook for people to write in and share their authentic selves. And it connects them and brings them all together, and you follow their stories and you get invested in their lives. And that's what I really liked about it, is I was sucked into the characters and wanted to know how they were going to turn out in the end. But my one thing that gave this a 4 out of 5 for me on Goodreads was that I felt like the ending was rushed. One character, I saw the development all the way through, and then at the end there's a pivot. Of course, you want to have the dun dun dun, like what happens at the end of the book. And I just felt like it was rushed and not fully explained, and you didn't get there. We've gotten there the whole time throughout the whole story, and just to rush the end and not sum it up and leave some character's authenticity story unfinished, it just felt unfinished. And that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5. But definitely, if you want an easier read, a fun read, this book was 350 pages, around there, 350-ish pages. So I read this one really fast. It was really fun, easy read, rom-com-ish. Could definitely be a movie. Out of the books that I read in January, which was Rebecca, Midnight Library, The Authenticity Project, and The Art of Fielding, I would definitely say that I like The Authenticity Project the best in terms of fun read. And I liked the story and like the meaning that the author was trying to get through the Midnight Library. And then Rebecca's is a classic. A classic. I gotta mix it up in my reading, so I'll probably throw in some nonfictions every once in a while. I have a few book clubs that I'm doing, so some of the books I will be reading coming up will be because of book clubs that I'm in. The other thing I want to share in this is, how I'm getting these books. And books can be really expensive. Like, I have a Barnes & Noble membership, which if all goes well this year, I can cancel. And that's, I think, $25 a year. And you do get discounts on books, but I still find myself spending $50 to $60 when I go there to buy books. So I was definitely needing to find other ways to get books. And some of those are from my friends. So these 2 books that I just finished reading, I borrowed from my friends. That's a great source of getting book content and having your friend read a book first and determining whether or not it's worth your time. Another great way to get books is actually Goodwill. My friend who also lent me these books, that was something that she suggested that we go do. We went to Goodwill and we got books, and they were, you know, a few bucks each, maybe like $1 each, depending on a hardcover or softcover. And so I picked up 5 books from Goodwill that I'm looking forward to read. And then, you know, of course you could go to a library, but this is where I was hearing from friends that it's really challenging to do a library when you want to read a newer book like The Authenticity Project, and you have to get like in a line to even have the opportunity to reserve the book. And then even with reserving the book, you then only have like 24 hours or 48 hours to go pick up the book, or else you get skipped in line. So that seemed like a big challenge. And then my friend found secondsale.com. And this is huge. You can buy a book, a used book, for $5 and get it shipped to you for free, and then you can sell it back. So it's kind of like a library, and it gets shipped to your apartment. So that's how I got my next book, The Great Divorce, is I bought it at Second Sale for $5, and I have a little slip that I can use to return it. So, or sell it back, I mean. So super awesome way of getting books. So definitely recommend that as well. Let me show you the books that I got from Goodwill. When I went to Goodwill last, I got all these books. And with this and a glass, I think I spent $15. I got like a pint glass from Goodwill. Like $15 for all these books. It's huge. So definitely recommend, you know, I found Ender's Game, which I want to read. The Lightning Thief, throwback to middle school. I don't think I actually read it, so I think I want to read that. Into the Wild, Namesake, and The Truth About Forever. So I have a bunch of good books here that I got for really cheap from Goodwill, and then I can pass them on to my friends to read as well. So all in all, like, so many books to read out there. My biggest thing is that I don't know how I'm gonna get to them all. Like, there's so many good ones to read, and I just wanna always rush through a book to get to the next. So, great books, good recommendations. Come back next month for my next month's book reviews, and comment below if you have any other topics on books that you want me to go over, if I need to give more detail next time, or what the ratings are. I'm definitely happy to do so. Please subscribe if you're still here at this point. Please subscribe to my channel. That would be awesome. And I will see you next month for another review of the books I read.